Welcome back to Poverty, Inequality, Discrimination. We're going to continue our discussion of discrimination. So, competitive markets provide a good remedy for employer discrimination, and that is the profit motive. So we're going to start, right? Suppose you have firms that discriminate against female workers. We have two markets, right? We're going to start with the initial assumption that equally qualified workers make the same amount. But if some firms discriminate against female workers, right, the demand for men increases while the demand for women drops. So you'd see a wage difference, right? This would be the wage gap. And this is often what's implied by, as we talked about last slide, Hillary Clinton and others who say there's a wage gap. So you see a wage gap. That provides an opportunity, though. The opportunity is for a non-discriminating firm. The firm, and when we say non-discriminating, these are firms that all they care about is hiring the best worker for the lowest cost. So if they hired all females, gives them a cost advantage, right? And profits. And other firms that aren't going to discriminate could jump into the market. In fact, they can do better. They can make more money and force out of business the discriminating firms. Well, what's going to happen then? The discriminating firms lose money and they're driven out of the market. Demand for female workers increases, demand for male workers falls, and that's going to occur until you're back to an equal wage. Markets provide a remedy for discriminating firms. Wages will be equal under markets. We've talked about a number of benefits of markets. This is a huge benefit of markets in that there's a remedy for firms that are discriminating against, there's a remedy that helps prevent unequal pay for equal contributions to output. So most of the time markets are going to do really good at this. There are a couple cases where markets still could cause some people to get paid less because they're in a certain group. The three categories here: if fellow workers discriminate, statistical discrimination, and if the organization isn't seeking to maximize profits. Now, statistical discrimination, that's the idea that statistics say things about people in a group. The big one that you'd see this in is in auto insurance, right? If you are a 16 to 21-year-old male, it doesn't matter that you are the safest driver ever. Insurance companies know that on average, 16 to 21-year-old males get in a lot more accidents. You're going to pay a higher rate because of this. And if you are a safe driver, you will be discriminated against in the process. If fellow workers discriminate or if the organization isn't seeking to maximize profits. And here, this I said is fellow workers, but if it's discrimination by consumers, it's the same thing. If you have consumers who discriminate, you might result in a wage differential. Customers prefer being served by, people who are white. Well, if that happens, then firms are going to hire white individuals, right? Even if non-whites are willing to work for lower wages. A lot of Las Vegas casinos or hotels, who are the people who are delivering drinks? And could be actually a pretty lucrative job because people get like $1 tip per free beverage. You can deliver a lot of beverages in an hour. So these are pretty high-paying jobs. Almost exclusively women. And some of the firms actually, not even exclusively women, they try to hire exclusively women that they think are relatively attractive. Why? They assume their customers want that. They're probably right overall, right? The consumers would like attractive women serving them, men who are gambling a lot. Well, there will be discrimination against men who could be equally productive in bringing drinks. Right? There's not much, the free market is going to have some wage differentials for people who would otherwise be equally productive on this case. This could go in all different ways depending on the particular circumstance. Discrimination by governments. The government's been horrendous at discrimination. It has an awful history of discrimination. Sometimes they mandate discrimination practices. Apartheid in South Africa, early 20th century U.S. laws requiring segregation. Some will argue now that a lot of the laws are what are called reverse discrimination. Really, it's the same thing, just in reverse, on giving preferential treatment to people in former groups that were discriminated against by the government. Governments don't have a for-profit motive, right? If a government doesn't have a for-profit motive, it could prevent the market from correcting wage differentials. However, if the market is a big enough sector, the market should correct those anyway. But you are more likely to see a wage gap based on non-relevant information you're more likely to see that in a government than in the private sector.